Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Today, I'm going to be covering The Amazing Spider-Man number 36. We will be going through the entirety of the comic, so anyone that hasn't read it, spoiler warning ahead. And then at the end, I will be giving my thoughts and opinions on it, so do stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video at any point, make sure to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's begin. I want to give a brief history about a particular character in this comic, because he's very prominent in it, and it looks like they're clearly establishing some sort of story with him. I mean, really, there's two characters it looks like they're doing that with, but I'm just gonna talk about one at the moment. Which character am I talking about? Well, his name is Rek-Rap, which is Parker backwards. Back on issue 13 of Venom 2022, Venom Eddie Brock traveled to Limbo and he was captured by this demon. He managed to bargain for his freedom by giving away part of his symbiote because it's a very rare material there. Rek-Rap became from a combination of using a random demon from Limbo, a part of Spider-Man's costume, and that symbiote that Eddie Brock ended up handing over in exchange for his freedom. Up-to-date lore on Rek-Rap, he's just been running around the city and no one's bothered to do anything about it. I wanted to bring up this particular character, so anytime I bring up Rek-Rap, no one's confused over the random word I'm just saying. Now you know that there's history behind it, it's just Peter backwards, and it's just this demon running around. Let's get into the actual comic. 2 nights ago in Queens, Rek-Rap is wearing a trench coat and a hat, some sort of disguise, and it's assumed he's going up to the house that Peter Parker grew up in. It's not clearly stated, but being in Queens, you just assume so. And just the way the story goes, it's the house that Peter Parker grew up in. Rek-Rap walks up to the house, he knocks at the door, and the gentleman that's renting the house opens the door, sees him, but he doesn't quite panic because Rek-Rap's just sort of trying to calm things down a little bit. More so, I can't quite tell whether the guy is even taking him seriously. But Rek-Rap questions whether he can see the gentleman's attic. The guy renting the house with common sense refuses, stating that he's just the imitator Spider-Man. He's been destroying property throughout New York, and Rek-Rap claims that he has been not doing that. He claims that it's really not his fault that the enemies that attack him, his row gallery, consistently goes after him. But he reassures the old man that not to worry because he's wearing the disguise, no one's gonna be able to notice it's him. But with epic comedic timing, he does get spotted by one of the members of the Insidious Six. Another quick short brief history, the Insidious Six are members of Madeline Pryor's Demon Legion that she turned into the equivalent of the Sinister Six, but they're just in demon form. They were created during the Dark Web event, which I did cover in my YouTube channel if you guys just want to go back and check it out. It's not a particularly interesting storyline, but you guys might get a kick over my thoughts on it. And so a battle ensues between the Grave Goblin and Rek-Rap. Next, we move over to the Limbo Embassy in New York City, which was established immediately after the Dark Web event. I've only read the issues involving Spider-Man, although I do have the other correlating issues, but I've honestly just read the ones with Spider-Man. And so far it comes across that Madeline Pryor sort of plays Ben Reilly / Chasm in a way where she establishes power in New York, and we're inside of Madeline Pryor's office. We're accompanied by Luke Cage, which is currently the New York City mayor, and Spider-Man, because he's had experience with Madeline Pryor in the past. Supposedly how Spider-Man retells the events, he sees it as a team-up with Madeline Pryor and him during Chasm's invasion, which is what leads me to believe that Spider-Man just doesn't know that Madeline Pryor was even involved with the entire invasion to begin with. Yeah, Ben Reilly did take her power, in which case she was involved in that, but you know what I mean, in the whole plotting scheme of things. Madeline Pryor explains how Rek-Rap is sort of needed by the city. He's sort of another just equivalent of Spider-Man. He just goes off and saves people. The demons that were created, the Insidious Six, are just meant to stop him, same way that they do for our hero. It's their only reason to exist. Luke Cage demands Madeline Pryor take back the demons that are still roaming the city, but she claims that for months she has been working on taking all the demons back. It's just been a process, but she will double her efforts. She has her agent on the job. She demands that they just simply stay out of her way, and the job will get done. Later, after the meeting, Luke Cage Cage tells Spider-Man that they can't be seen walking out together for some reason because of this whole illegal superhero thing that Fisk established. Spider-Man questions why he can't just remove the law like he's already in power. That was the whole reason why they got him in there to begin with. I specifically remember it was like during the Devil's Reign event. But Luke Cage explains a ton of mumbo jumbo and blah blah blah, we can't change it for some reason. And then he tells Spider-Man, hey, you're not doing enough, dog. Next, we move over to what I just at this point assumed to be a hideout, and we're joined by two crime bosses, Silvermane and Hammerhead. Hammerhead is bowing his allegiance to Silvermane, which in turn does please Silvermane because Silvermane respects the old tradition of the Magia rule, and seeing Hammerhead do the same, they'll soon gain control over New York City. I want to make a few points in this particular segment because it is particularly interesting. First off, it's kind of funny how Hammerhead is struggling to bow because he's bowing to Silvermane, but I didn't mention it's just his severed head. His head is talking like normal. It's not connected to anything. Behind him, it's established how there's a mechanical cyborg suit, which connecting the dots, it's just, boom, he's a cyborg. Next, we accompany Madeline Pryor in Limbo, and it looks like we're in the Garden of Jagged Souls. She has a shovel with her, and she walks up to this sort of stem that's sticking out of the ground, and she digs it up. She claims to it how the children of Limbo have gotten rowdy and they need to be collected. And that's what that particular soul used to be good at. She claims the monster's name is Repossessor. It's assumed the monster is quite ugly because she wants it to wear its mask. Next, we move over to Queens, where we accompany the man that was renting the house that Peter Parker grew up in. And he's seen in the attic cleaning up the mess that Rek-Rap made when he was fighting the Grave Goblin. Spider-Man shows up and questions the guy over what happened. And the old man explains how Rek-Rap really wanted to see what was in the attic, but he kept denying him, of course. It looked like Rek-Rap in the end inevitably ended up getting what he wanted because through the fighting with the Grave Goblin, he ended up busting a hole through the house, leading him directly into the attic, which is where he wanted to be in to begin with. It's assumed he ended up leaving with what he was looking for. Next, we're in East Village, and we're accompanying Rek-Rap. He's right outside of Peter Parker's apartment, which he claims the documents that he was able to find at Peter Parker's attic, the house that he grew up in, led him specifically there. It was those documents and what he claims to be his patented tingle. Now, here's where one of his plot lines ends up getting reinforced, where he claims that the trail is warm and tasty. The plotline that was established at the very beginning of the comic, where he's claiming that he's doing some sort of investigation. At first you think, oh, it's just Rek-Rap being goofy, lol. But no, it looks like he's looking for something in particular. Rek-Rap begins climbing Peter Parker's apartment, and he gets confronted by Spider-Man himself, which begins questioning what he's up to. Now, this is the one time where Spider-Man seems to actually care about saying his name out loud, because Rek-Rap says his name. It's not even in the correct order, but he says his name, and Spider-Man just flips out, grabbing Rek-Rap and throws him onto the roof of the building, telling him to be quiet. Now on the roof, Spider-Man continues questioning Rek-Rap, and he's wondering what he's doing at his apartment. Rek-Rap questions what's his apartment doing on the papers from the attic, reinforcing the mystery behind Rek-Rap's goal at the moment. They get interrupted by one of the members of the Insidious Six, Dr. Octoball, and a fight ensues. Now, at first, it's simply led to believe that Dr. Octoball is just there to fight Rek-Rap, as it was explained that they naturally just want to fight each other. But it seems that Dr. Octoball is actually there because of his fallen brethren who just haven't returned after going out to fight Rek-Rap. It seems that they take turns. But yeah, Dr. Octoball is actually concerned over one of his brethren. The fight stops because a mysterious character appears, and Dr. Octoball looks incredibly worried. Now, this is where the second character gets brought back from way beginning in the volume run. Back then, there was a character who was basically a debt collector who would just stand outside of Peter Parker's house and just hassle him for this supposed debt that he collected. Of course, Peter Parker being broke, he would always just walk by the guy or, swing through the window. Later though, during the dark web event, he doesn't really get developed much though, but during the dark web event, it ended up getting established that he was a pretty sick dude, and then he got taken out horrifically, and that was basically that. I was expecting more to the character, but it went from, okay, he just stands outside of Peter Parker's apartment and tries to hassle him over the supposed debt, to, oh, he's actually a very horrible person, gets taken out by Madeline Pryor, and that's that. Now he's back as this Repossessor for Madeline Pryor, to bring back the demons still roaming around. Spider-Man questions to Rek-Rap whether he's seen the guy or he knows him at all, and Rek-Rap just claims that no, he doesn't know him, but he looks pretty cool. The Repossessor then transforms from a humanoid-looking creature to the monster that Madeline Pryor ended up creating, and it swallows up Dr. Octoball. As it's getting swallowed up, it's clearly in pain. The Repossessor then looks over at Rek-Rap and claims that he's next. Rek-Rap begins getting swallowed up by the Repossessor, and he's just screaming Bloody Mary for Spider-Man to help him out. We do get reinforced his mysterious plotline though by claiming that he's trying to crack a case. This last plea was inevitably what ended up causing Spider-Man to break Rek-Rap free from the Repossessor's grip. Spider-Man tells the Repossessor that he's going to be bringing this particular demon in himself. Once recovering from the attack, the Repossessor looks over at Spider-Man and claims that he knows him. Spider-Man questions, what? How? But Rek-Rap, immediately after recovering himself, kicks the Repossessor off the roof, causing him to land in the alley. In a rush, Rek-Rap pressures Spider-Man for both of them to dip, but Spider-Man ponders why this Repossessor claimed he knew him. Our cliffhanger is left with the Repossessor, who's now on the ground, and he's just stating Parker, Peter's last name. And we're left on a to be continued. So what do I think about the comic book itself? Well, I honestly enjoyed it. I thought it was simple, fun filler. We get a few minor interesting things that were established in this issue, how Rek-Rap is sort of under this investigation that he's doing, which ended up leading him to Peter Parker's apartment for some reason, and he claims that it's warm and tasty. Well, the trail is warm, but for some reason he claims that it's tasty, which heavily gives off old school Venom vibes. Makes sense, he was created under the symbiote. And then there was that lore bit about how the Insidious Six and Rek-Rap are just destined to basically do what Spider-Man and his Sinister Six do. It's explained very simplified, like Rek-Rap and his Insidious Six, they just go after Rek-Rap because he's just saving the city. But if you're comparing the Insidious Six with the Sinister Six, oh man, I'm forgetting all these sixes, sevens, I don't know. But if you're comparing both of them, you're also stating that the Sinister Six that fight Spider-Man basically fight Spider-Man because they do it to stop him at whatever goal he's at, which oversimplifies the main villains themselves by making them seem like they really don't have a goal of their own. But maybe that's just me looking too deep into it. Just to keep it simple, I like the little lore bits of the Insidious Six. I don't know if it's just me. Anytime there's a setting where we're inside of Madeline Pryor's office, I completely dread it. Like, I know there's just going to be a lot of extensive dialogue that means almost nothing. I mean, this was the section where we actually get the tiny lore bits on the Insidious Six and how they function with Rek-Rap. Besides that, we have this whole bureaucratic talk with Luke Cage and Madeline Pryor, and Spider-Man's there for some reason because of his experience. And they have this whole power control situation where Madeline Pryor gives Luke Cage this tiny chair and she's chilling on this super comfortable evil looking chair just to make him feel small. That was very boring. And then plus, I don't understand how Luke Cage, he explains it, now being the mayor, for some reason he needs popular demand to be able to change the laws so that superheroes aren't illegal anymore. I don't quite understand how that makes sense. Like, dude, you're already voted into power. What more do you need? What? And then he tells Spider-Man that he's not doing enough to change things. Like, what? I don't know. This part just doesn't make sense, and it's incredibly dull and boring. I really enjoyed the tease with Silvermane. That is amazing. I really enjoyed how Hammerhead is just bowing to Silvermane's head that's just for some reason really low. And so when he bows, he has to be even lower than him. Seeing Silvermane's cyborg body, oh, I can't wait to see how this plays out. I enjoyed that section. I really enjoyed how they added just a tiny bit of character to this particular Insidious 6 member, Dr. Octoball. I loved how he was introduced to the fight. At first I'm like, here we go again with this goofy Insidious 6 nonsense fight. But no, with what we know about how they have to, stop Rek-Rap, we begin the fight with just thinking, okay, it's just gonna be their usual fight. But no, it's established that Dr. Octoball is actually seeking what's going on with his buddies and why they haven't returned after they supposedly have gone off to fight Rek-Rap. So this demon is like genuinely concerned over his homies, like they haven't returned, which did introduce quite a bit more character to him, so I enjoyed that. It was tragic, but I enjoyed it. We also get to see what happened to his homies that had gone missing, because the same thing happened to him with the introduction of the Repossessor. I actually quite enjoyed the fact that they brought back this old character that they sort of just tossed away back during the Dark Web event. Like, they sort of built off this sort of mystery and why this debt collector's there. I mean, supposedly because, Peter Parker owed him money, but there wasn't much to him besides that. He just stood outside of his apartment. But they brought back that character and they revamped him by being the cause of what brings in all these demons back into Limbo. And he's controlled by Madeline Pryor, of course. On his side, things start getting real spicy when he starts recognizing Spider-Man as Peter. Of course, back from his debt collector days. But supposedly Spider-Man doesn't recognize him at first, actually. He even asks Rek-Rap, like, who is this guy? The Repossessor, upon recognizing Peter Parker / Spider-Man, that things get real juicy there. So we'll see how that plays out. Anyways, I want to know what your guys' thoughts and comments are on this particular comic and what you guys think about the overall story and the big idea, if you guys know what I mean. If you enjoyed this video at any point, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.